Obviously happy with specifically the second half. Saturday at Nebraska, I thought we did a lot of good things and got a lot of contributions. But film definitely a lot of good things that happened there. So looking forward to getting back home this week. Obviously, a Purdue team that presents a lot of problems, inside and outside. They've gone through some ups and downs in terms of shooting that kind of dictated their results lately. But like I said, a team that gave us fits at their place, and we'll have to be much better tomorrow night. Questions?
Jeff, you mentioned much better. I'm assuming one of the areas you're concerned about or focused on is the rebounding. I know you've probably looked at the film since then. How much of it was just effort that night that their guys went after it, or how much it was?
It was credit. I got to credit Purdue too. I mean, they made some plays, and there was really a flurry. A 4 or 5 minute flurry. I thought that they were more aggressive than we were, more physical than we were. Which obviously, when you play hard, good things happen. And 42-16 has been talked about quite a bit in the last couple of days. So we'll have to be, better. And hopefully we are, and hopefully we've improved, and hopefully we play better.
Jim. Thank you. Taking on attack here.
Is it on?
Yep, just yell it out.
I think the biggest thing is the aggressive mindset, and he's one that we've always tried to, push in that direction and motivate in that direction. To when he's at his best, he's more aggressive. As that's everybody, but he probably more than anybody needs to play in that mindset and with that type of motor. So, he was good. He got a couple big ones for us. Obviously, Ohio State made a big play to get fouled when they had scored a bucket or two on us in the second half. And then, obviously, I thought, the 10 rebounds Saturday were big for us, especially, obviously, most of those were defensive, but we were able to finish out possessions with him cleaning up the glass.
Tom?
Craig, I think we've seen Dimitrik evolve a little bit as a point guard here recently. What is he doing differently? And I think you've been working with him to do these kinds of things for a long time, and now all of a sudden it seems to be taking hold a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully, I think the biggest thing, he's more consistent. And you're right, we spent a lot of time with the coaching staff and specifically Coach Oliver, either talking about things on the floor or watching film, and Dimitrik's put a lot of time into it. And some things maybe haven't come as natural or as fast as he would have wanted them to, but I think the one thing that doesn't get talked about, and obviously his assist-to-turnover ratio has been really good here recently, making good decisions, taking the shots at the right time, getting other people involved. But what he's done on the defensive end of the floor, I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And he's had, if you look up and down our league, some of the best players are all at that point guard position. So he's had a lot of tough assignments that 2-3 years ago we would try to find places to hide him and put him on a weaker offensive player. And now it's, who do we need to try to control out front? And he's done a good job of understanding that, and started back with the job he did on Marcus Howard back in December. He's just been, I think the biggest thing, just consistent. He's been consistently, really, really solid and done a good job.
Jeff?
Greg, I know you guys don't like talking about injuries, but you mentioned briefly after the Nebraska game that the couple days Brad helped him get a little healthier. How much, in any way, has he been limited by some of the things he's gotten banged up? I know the ankle, he still wears the brace, the hip pointer, I think, at Purdue.
Right. Well, I think he's, that's normal as you go through a year. Everybody's going to have, with as physical it is, and specifically Brad probably puts himself in more positions than most because he's not afraid of contact, and he sometimes seeks contact. But that's normal for players to go through over the course of a season, that they're going to take some bumps and bruises, and there's not maybe enough downtime for it to heal. But a couple days was good for not only him physically but mentally, just to take a deep breath, step back a little bit, catch his breath. And I thought he, even though he didn't shoot it well in practice leading up to the game, I thought he had a fresher look about him, and obviously he played well on Saturday.
Quick follow-up then, why did he need the mental break? Just from the grind of the season? Or
I think the grind of the season, I think everything we've gone through. I think the suspension, I think that weighed a little bit mentally on him. Everything else we've had to go through here, and also the grind. We're in mid-February, and we've had a lot of reps. He's put a lot of miles on this year already.
Greg, speaking of injuries, I think those of us outside the program probably can't comprehend how much a guy like Trevor has to do just to get ready for games and practices and all that behind-the-scenes stuff. How much do you, I don't know, appreciate's the right word, but just all the stuff he has to do to just even get ready to get on the court?
Yeah, I think he's done a good job, but I think our training staff, Henry, deserves a lot of credit too, because he's pushed him at times when maybe Trevor didn't feel like being pushed, specifically last summer, last fall. I know now it's a matter of it's gotten better and better. You just watch from earlier in the season, he's more mobile, he's more comfortable with it. I know trying to stay loose and stay warm is always an issue if it tightens up on him. I know he stands up a lot in timeouts and tries to keep it mobile. But, yeah, I mean, I said a long time ago he was ahead of schedule because he had surgery in December, and usually that's a 12-month before you're back really going, and he was back competing before that 12-month mark. So, and hopefully as time goes on and he gets further removed, just watching how Gosser went through that, the next year it's even better because now you're mentally, that's another thing. I think he's by most of the mental, it appears, aspect or the hurdle that presents, but that second year just watching Josh become more natural and kind of put that behind him was big, and hopefully Trevor can get to that point too.
Greg, how important was it to see that you go with the bigger lineup against Ohio State, it works. Then you go with the smaller lineup at Nebraska, and then with the Lehman, Nate, and foul trouble, you guys still win, play well on both ends of the floor. How important was that to see from your team this past week?
Yeah, I think that's the neat part about having interchangeable parts. We were able to mix and match, and obviously Nebraska, from their lineup, affords you to do that a little bit too with how they try to play. So, I wasn't real pleased with Nate getting 2 fouls early, but other guys stepped in, whether it was Micah or we played smaller for a stretch with Ford at the 5 for a while too. And again, given the lineup and what we saw defensively, it allowed us to do that. Not every team's going to allow us to play with that specific lineup, but I think our guys have done a good job. They don't worry about who starts, just trying to do whatever they can to help the team.
Greg, along those same lines, Purdue's kind of switched up their lineup. When do you actually decide on who to start? I mean, do you wait for their lineup to get in and match up accordingly, or are you set even before that?
I mean, in my mind, I'm kind of set just because of what I watch on film. Now, if we see something drastic happen in a change, we'll watch the trends of an opponent, of who they're starting and what are the moving parts, and are their moving parts going to affect our lineup or not. But for the most part, I've got a pretty good idea before we go into the game. Try to give our guys a pretty good heads up of what I'm thinking a couple days going into that. So, again, I try not to overreact or make it a big deal about who starts and why, or sometimes it's based on what we want more of. Sometimes it's based on what I see we can match better defensively. So it's not always a hard and fast reason why and who.
And Greg, first time you're having 2 straight home games since November when you had 4 in a row. What's the relief there to finally have that happen with the scheduling?
Yeah, it is. That's crazy that we haven't had 2 straight home games. It is what it is. We knew that going in, how it was going to lay out. We tried not to make a big deal of it, home or road. I told the team Saturday before the game at Nebraska that the 17,000 or whatever in there, all dressed in red, they're cheering for us. But the thing is, they can't defend, they can't rebound. What I was trying to get point across was it's not the venue that determines our success. It's not the location. It's how we play. And so let's go play how our potential indicates we can play. And it won't matter, those fans aren't coming on to rebound or defend or take any shots. It's about what we do within in those lines. And I thought for the most part we did a pretty good job of that. So trying to make the whole thing of road or home, trying to really minimize that it's not about home or road. It's about your personal and team performance that matters the most.
We have time for 2 more. Jim? Oh, sorry. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Greg, A couple times you've played Potter and Reavers together, but a lot of times foul trouble has dictated some things. What they bring collectively, are you pleased with what they've been able to do? Like if Nate's out, what Potter can do and vice versa?
Yeah, I think they both, I think Micah has gotten more comfortable. You're talking about playing not together, but spelling each other. Yeah, I think that's been good, and we've been able to even at times. Saturday I rode probably Micah a little longer than I thought just because he was doing some good things. And Nate obviously got the third and the fourth foul there in the second half. But I think it's been a good combination together. I haven't been able to do it as long stretches as maybe you would like just because of fatigue factor. But independently, I think they've done a good job of complementing each other.